Hello everybody, welcome to Ural Channel. Decreasing semen volume and trajectory is a big concern for many men when they get older. In this video, I'm going to explain the reasons why it happens and what you can do to counteract this. Don't expect too much though. It's impossible to take a 50-year-old and literally turn him into 20. But there are modifiable factors that can make a difference. My name is Stefan Buntrock, I'm a urologist and sexologist. Semen volume is a topic that's of importance to any age group. But while young men mostly want to show off by boosting what already represents the prime of their life, aging men fight to preserve what they once had. To be honest, as a doctor I've never given it much thought in the early years of my career. Because semen volume is not more than a footnote in andrology. And even in sexual medicine and sexology, there is no chapter on this in any book I know. Yet, one day I realized that it matters to many of my patients. So I started to search the databases for articles on semen volume and its significance for sexual well-being. What can I tell you? There were none. That was over 10 years ago. Even until today, nothing has changed. For this video, I searched the scientific literature again. Nothing. However, I could find one research paper on the women's perspective on semen volume. I'm going to reveal the results at the end of the video. Back to the aging male. Semen volume is gradually decreasing with age. To understand why this is happening, it is important to recognize where the ejaculate is produced. I'm using the term ejaculate because, strictly speaking, semen is a bit of a misleading term because one would think that everything is produced in the testicles. And considering their size, it seems to be reasonable that they are producing all of the ejaculate. But that's not the case. The testicles' contribution is only a drop of sperm that represents 5% of the whole load that's coming out. The rest, the ejaculate, the fluid, is produced in the prostate and two small glands attached to the prostate, the seminal vesicles. In orgasm, ejaculation, the fluids from all three locations are mixed together and are forcefully expelled by rhythmic contractions of the pelvic floor, mainly the bulbocavernous muscle. In young men, semen is accelerated to 31 miles per hour with the first contraction. On average, around 10 to 15 of these contractions occur, accompanied by feelings of pleasure, what is called orgasm. With age, the contractions become less intense and also decrease in number. The trajectory can weaken a lot and the amount of semen decreases, which is of concern to many men. The prostate plays an important role in this scenario because it starts to enlarge when men get older. I would like to draw your attention to this video. Here I'm explaining benign prostatic enlargement, BPE, and why men should be aware of this condition. You don't have to watch it right now. I will put a link to it in the description, so you may have a look at it later. Because in order to understand why semen volume decreases with age, you will have to know BPE. This condition leads to clogging of the small pathways that drain the prostate so less fluid comes out. Additionally, the prostate and seminal vesicles produce less ejaculate. This could be even more pronounced in testosterone deficiency of the aging male, as testosterone is needed for these glands to work properly. Tamsulosin, an alpha blocker, which is every urologist's darling as it helps with urination, has profound negative effects on semen volume. And of course, certain surgical procedures have to be mentioned, like resection of the prostate or prostatectomy, but I'm not going into detail here because it's not the main focus of this video. And there is the pelvic floor. With age, it can weaken, especially the bulbocavernous muscle, which acts by compressing the urethra and is responsible for draining it after urination and for expelling the ejaculate. So if you train your pelvic floor, it may help with ejaculation. I uploaded a train along video for the pelvic floor that can be found here. But be careful, in my experience, many men have a pelvic floor that is too tight, which means that training this area could result in even more misery. Before engaging in any exercise program for the pelvic floor, you should get a pelvic floor examination first. As a matter of fact, losing urine after urination, so-called post-micturition dribble, can be a sign of an overactive pelvic floor, which means that weak ejaculatory trajectory and post-maturation dribble seem to be related. This is something that so far hasn't been looked much into. However, I could find one scientific study where this correlation is described indeed. Okay, now, what can you do to increase semen volume? Get a medical check, especially if you have signs and symptoms of late onset hypogonadism. If you want to know more about it, watch this video. Try to avoid benign prostatic enlargement. Good news is, all modifiable risk factors for cardiovascular disease seem to apply to the prostate as well. In other words, never smoke, as it is proven to reduce semen volume. If you smoke, stop today. Train regularly, which means at least 30 minutes cardiovascular workout 5 times per week and 2 to 3 times strength training per week. Get your pelvic floor checked. If it's weak, train it. If it's overactive, learn how to relax it. Drink enough water. Sufficient hydration of the body will also affect semen volume. You might have noticed that there is a correlation between ejaculatory frequency and semen volume. So not ejaculating for 3 to 5 days will most likely lead to an increase. Take your time. There's anecdotal evidence that sexual arousal with extended foreplay may increase the amount of seminal fluid. In the beginning, I promised you I would reveal what women think about it. This study was published in 2018 and included 240 heterosexual women with a median age of 27.4 years. The aim of the study was to find out more about ejaculation intensity and ejaculation volume for female sexual satisfaction and function. One of the questions the participants had to answer was, do you experience a more intensive orgasm depending on the subjectively perceived greater quantity of the expelled ejaculate? Only 7.3% completely or somewhat agreed. Nearly 27% never paid attention. Nearly 38% answered that it didn't matter, and roughly 28% completely or somewhat disagreed. Interesting. Now you have something to think about this weekend. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Bye-bye.